to order of the Planning and Community Affairs Committee of Monday, September the 21st. Welcome everybody, and I'll call for a moment of silence. Thank you, and I'll now call on our clerk to describe the processes for tonight's meeting. Mr. Clerk.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. And as we do with our electronic meetings, I'll start with a roll call. Councillor Wotton, are you with us tonight?
I'm here.
Thank you very much. And Councillor McDougall?
Present.
Thank you. And
present.
Thank you. And Councillor Guido?
Present, thank you.
And Madam Mayor, I know Councillor Ross expressed his regrets, so I'll skip over Councillor Ross and go to Councillor Kieserbrink.
I'm here, thank you.
And Councillor Brown.
Present.
All right, Madam Mayor, I can confirm we have quorum. I will announce the members of staff present with us also. We have, in alphabetical order, Adam Debicki, we have Kevin Heritage, Laurie Bowers, Nicola Alston, our Chief Administrative Officer, Paula Law, Robin Prentice, and obviously myself as well. So again, I would ask that everyone please mute your mic while you're not talking. This will avoid any background noise that may occur where you are and will avoid any echo in the audio. We ask you to please use headphones if they're available to you. Again, just improves audio quality. If you would like to speak for council members and for staff, if you're able to do this, we're going to use the raise the hand function, which is functionality of the program that we use instead of the chat. The mayor will then call upon you when it's your turn. If you could just remember that after you've had your turn to speak, please press the hand button again, which will lower your hand and remove you from the list to speak. If you happen to leave your computer, and this is for members of council, please let the mayor know so that we can ensure that quorum continues to be met. When moving or seconding a motion, please announce your name. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed to the township's YouTube channel. We will be using an electronic voting process during tonight's meeting. At the appropriate times, we'll announce that voting is open and council members will be asked to make a selection. Once everyone has voted, I will announce that the voting is closing. If for any reason a council member is unable to vote, please announce your vote verbally and say in favour or against. If the electronic voting system stops working for any reason, we'll revert back to the mayor asking each council member for their vote. Thank you, Madam Mayor. That concludes my opening statement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk. And I'll call on anybody have a disclosure of pecuniary interest in the nature thereof. And is Councillor Watton, is that why you have your hand up?
No, I was wondering if we knew who the anonymous person was in our participation list.
Oh.
Yes, Madam Mayor, that is Robin Prentice. She's calling in on her personal phone.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then I will declare my pecuniary interest
yes.
For 6.3, and actually, let me get out of this so I can see the reports. The public meeting of 9.1, my husband works for our builds for Jeffrey Homes, and the corresponding report, Dev 2020-27. So that is one conflict. And then the second conflict is in, where are we? 11.1, Dev 2020-25. The delegation is they're related to me, so I have that for also the delegation as well as the report of pecuniary interest. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Kieserbrink.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a conflict for 11.1 Dev 2020-025. For the public meeting as well as the report, because Youngfield Farms rents our family farm.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Guido.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to declare pecuniary interest at 9.1 and the subsequent report at 11.2 as the proposed development lands is adjacent to my home.
Thank you very much. That seems to be the extent of the pecuniary interest. Thank you very much. Any announcements from council? I have a very important announcement. I want to wish our CAO, Paula Laura, a very happy birthday today. Any other announcements from staff? Any comment, Mr. CAO?
Oh, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Appreciate the best wishes.
No, you don't. You're embarrassed, right?
Yes, unexpected, but thank you.
Any other announcements from council? Councillor Brown.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor, congratulations to Big Brothers and Sisters of North Durham. They pulled off what may be the first of many drive-in concerts at the fairgrounds on Saturday night with the rec laws in town. 130 or so cars, I was told by Margie today. They raised around $20,000 for the program, which is wonderful. Special thanks from the organizers to the Lions of Port Perry, Blackstock, and Cartwright for their marshalling. And congratulations to the organizers too. Everybody apparently through the police was on their best behavior and it turned out great. So well done.
Oh, that's wonderful. Congratulations to everybody. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to mention that yourself and I and Councillor Brown attended the grand opening of the Helping Hands new business in town. It's a licensed childcare, and it will be, I believe they said they will be employing 18 employees, and they can have space for 84 children. So not quite full. They had an open house following our grand opening, but they're hopeful that they will be full fairly soon. So congratulations. This is their ninth business after having opened one in Millbrook not that long ago, both during COVID. So very worthwhile acknowledgement to them and kudos for persevering and going through with it at this time. So thank you, Madam Mayor. That's my announcement.
Thank you, Councillor Watton. Yes, it's a beautiful facility. It really is. Makes you kind of wish you were a kid again, all those interesting toys to play with and a great playground. So we certainly wish them all the best. Councillor Brown, did you have another announcement? You've got your hand up still.
No, I'll take it down. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. No other announcements from council, because are there any announcements? Oh, Councillor Kiesebrink? Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I might need to defer this to Director Coleman, but I know we were looking for crossing guards, so maybe she could speak to that. And I think that our fire chief, I think there was an award or something that was won. So I just hope they'll share those things with us.
Okay, thank you. Announcements from staff?
Madam Mayor, it's Director Newman. If I could just let Councillor Kiesebrink know that Director Coleman and Fire Chief Burney are not in the meeting.
Perhaps Laurie or our CAO, do we still need crossing guards, or have those positions been filled? Anybody know? Okay,
Mayor, I'm unsure of that. I'd have to follow up and have Ms. Coleman send something out tomorrow.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much for doing that. Any other announcements from staff? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much, everyone. And we'll move on now to the public meetings. And the first meeting, this portion of the meeting has been set aside for a public meeting held under Section 51 of the Planning Act to consider an application for a draft plan of condominium submitted by Bryce Jordan, GHD Limited, on behalf of 2659163 Ontario Limited for the property located at the southwest corner of Scugog Street, or Highway 7A, and Old Simcoe, municipally known as 1622 Scugog Street. The purpose of this public meeting is to obtain the views and comments of the public. No decision will be made at this public meeting. It is important that the public express their views either in person or in writing prior to decisions being made by the Council of the Township of Scugog. The notification of this public meeting provided residents with options on how to be added to this meeting. However, written comments can still be submitted to the Township's planning staff at any time prior to the passing of the implementing bylaw. Everyone in this virtual public meeting has the opportunity to speak. Please be considerate of the acknowledged speaker by refraining from speaking into your microphone at the same time. While you may agree or disagree with the speaker, please refrain from audible responses and respect each speaker. To ensure that all those who wish to speak have the opportunity to do so, speakers should limit their comments to 5 minutes and keep comments as brief and to the point as possible. Prior to speaking, please clearly state and spell your name and provide your property address for records purposes. You are encouraged to provide your comments in writing also, so that staff can ensure that they are accurately recorded and appropriately considered. If you do not speak at this public meeting or provide written comments before council makes a decision on this application, you may not be entitled to appeal council's decision or be added as a party to a hearing by the local planning appeal tribunal unless the tribunal determines there are reasonable grounds to do so. If you would like to be notified of the decision on these matters, please provide written notice of your desire to receive notice. The notice for this public meeting was given in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. I will now ask Nicola Alston to provide information regarding the application and an overview of the staff information report included in this agenda. Ms. Alston, please proceed with your presentation.
Madam Mayor, it's Director Newman again. Just want to let you know that I've let Bryce Jordan from GHD, who's the agent, into our meeting as well, just for your information.
Thank you. Nicola?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to the clerk. Oh, he's got it up. That was what I wanted to ask for. Thank you. The purpose of this public meeting is to present the proposed draft plan of condominium and obtain comments from council and the public. Next slide, please. An application for a draft plan of condominium was submitted to the Region of Durham by Bryce Jordan from GHD Limited on behalf of 2659163 Ontario Limited, or Jeffrey Homes, for the property located at 1622 Schuyler Street or Highway 7A. Draft plan of condominium applications are ultimately approved by the Region of Durham after it has gone through Township Council. And the Commissioner of Planning and Economic Development has delegated approval authority. I will provide a brief overview of the application, and Mr. Jordan from GHD Limited is also available to answer any questions you may have. The subject property is located on the southwest corner of Scugog Street and Old Simcoe Road. The purpose of the proposed draft plan of condominium is for a common elements condominium plan. This common elements condominium will include such features as the road, sidewalks, visitor parking area, communal landscaping, stormwater storage tank, and meter building. The proposed 37 townhomes will be freehold, and the common elements within this development will be conveyed to, owned, and managed by a condominium corporation, which will be the future 37 townhouse owners. Next slide, please. This application is related to a number of planning applications that have previously been submitted, including a township official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment, which were approved by Township Council in June 2017, a draft plan of subdivision, which was conditionally approved by the Region of Durham on July 13th, 2018, a site plan application, which was submitted to the township in late 2018 and is close to being completed, and a minor variance application relating to a minimum lot areas for one of the townhouse blocks. And that was approved earlier this year by the Township's Committee of Adjustment. Please also be aware that the township staff are currently working with the owner and their agents on a joint subdivision and site plan agreement. Next slide, please. These lands are designated residential in the township's official plan, which permits a variety of housing forms, including townhouses. Next slide, please. This property is zoned urban residential multiple 3, exceptions 3 and 4, which permit 29 and now 9 townhouse dwellings respectively. Although the zoning permits 38 townhouse dwellings, the owner has reduced that number to 37 within their site plan application. No objections or concerns were identified by township staff or any other external agency, and most comments are being addressed through the related site plan and subdivision application and the respective agreement. Written comments were received from Mr. Bruce Andrews at 14975 Old Simcoe Road. The majority of Mr. Andrews' comments relate to the construction of the site and not to concerns with this draft plan of condominium application. Planning and engineering staff have followed up with this individual via a letter. Notice of this electronic public meeting was provided in accordance with the Planning Act, with notice provided to all property owners within 120 meters of the subject property and advertised in the local newspaper and posted on the township's website. A sign has also been placed on the property to notify the public of the application. A future staff report will include an analysis of any comments received tonight, together with any subsequent written comments from the public, and make a recommendation on the application. Madam Mayor, that concludes my presentation, and I would be happy to answer any questions council may have.
Thank you, Ms. Alston. Great presentation. Are any questions from council? Councillor Brown?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm just not sure whether or not I should save this question about this for Nicola at 11.2 or whether I can deliver the question now. I'm not sure how to proceed.
Go ahead with your question.
Okay, thank you. And through you then. Thank you, Nicola. I'm delighted, I think many of us are, that something is finally being done with that piece of land. But I have some mildly serious concerns about traffic flow, especially on a long weekend when you have these people trying to get out of there. I think they're all going to empty onto Old Simcoe Road, but something has to be done with Old Simcoe, or those people on a long weekend, a September long weekend, for example, are going to wait forever to get in that line of traffic because it's usually backed up pretty badly there. So just your thoughts on that, or Mr. Jordan's perhaps.
Well, you could start, Ms. Alston, and perhaps we'll ask the same question of Mr. Jordan.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, please be aware that the entrance and exit to the townhouse site off of Old Simcoe and all the stacking and queuing meet the MTO requirements. Please be aware that a traffic impact study was submitted by the applicant through the subdivision process and an update through the site plan process by Crozier Consulting Engineers. The design and study were reviewed by the township's peer review consultants at PlanMac and also by the Ministry of Transportation. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Brown, follow up?
Well, that's fine. I'll just leave it at that. I still, I wouldn't want to be one of those townhouse holders on a long weekend trying to go across the causeway because it's going to take some time unless they change the configuration of Old Simcoe Road. It's just my thought, but duly noted, and I appreciate the answer. Thank you, Nicola.
Thank you very much, Councillor Brown. Councillor Kiesebrink?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Nicola, for your report. This is just because the way the visual is, and I'm just probably not understanding it properly, but running right along Scugog Street, so are the parking, there's parking, I guess, across from the townhouses? Is that correct?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, that is correct. There is visitor parking provided, and that will be part of the common elements. So it's on the north side of the road, and there is also an accessible sidewalk running alongside that as well for any visitors.
Okay. And then from a visual standpoint, like further between the parking to the road itself, is there going to be like fencing along there, or is that just like open sort of grassy area?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, I believe you are referring to the area between Highway 7A and the visitor parking. Is that correct?
Yeah, basically just the white space, like you've got the townhouses, the parking, and then there's space from the parking to Scugog Street to the road. I'm looking at your last diagram on the last page of, oh no, I guess it's not the last page of the report. It's I zoomed out so much now I can't see the page number. I've got this little tiny screen.
Oh.
It's the page 3 of your report. So I was just wondering about the visual from Scugog Street where the parking is across from the townhomes. I was just curious if that's just like a grassy area between the visitor, what you're saying is visitor parking, and then Scugog Street directly.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, that area will be landscaped. There is also additional landscape that will screen the parking area, and there's a variety of shrubs that will be screening. The only fence proposed is along the southern property line and the western property line.
Okay.
Thank you.
And just thank you, Madam Mayor. And I'm not super, it's hard to see, but I'm zoomed in as much as I can. The little, where the roadway kind of jigs around and then goes between houses on both sides, what's in that little corner section there? It's a square. I don't know what, I can't see that very well.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, that is an accessible parking spot.
That's what you were referring to. Okay, got it.
So due to grades and other reasons, that was the best location for the accessible.
That was the best location. Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Councillor Brown and Councillor Keys, you put your hands down, please. And Councillor McDougall.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the presentation, Nicola. I have a question, and my question is with regards to, from Alma Street, it appears that there is a parcel of land between what is a commercial property and a residential property. Is that a municipal right-of-way?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, is it the portion that's adjacent to the Victory Church?
Yes, that would be correct.
Yeah, that is, I believe that's still part of the Victory Church, but I can verify that for you. There's no access being proposed other than off of Old Simcoe Road.
Oh, okay, through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much. On the plan here, it looks like that's an unopened road allowance. One further question is, perhaps it'll be addressed in the site plan application. Will the town retain architectural control in this development? Through you, Madam Mayor.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, yes. The township's control architect has reviewed the elevations and the site plan and the landscape plan for the site plan, and have been reviewed, and all his comments have been incorporated into the submissions.
Okay, very good. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. I don't see any further questions. So I will now call on Mr. Bryce Jordan of GHD Limited to present information regarding this application on behalf of the applicant. Mr. Jordan, please unmute your microphone and proceed with your presentation. Councillor McDougall, turn off your mic. I think you just had a nice drink of water.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, Madam Mayor.
Mr. Jordan? Mr. Clerk, is there a problem?
Mr. Jordan is with us. His mic is still muted, so he'll need to unmute his mic in order to speak. Mr. Jordan, you able to unmute your mic? Mr. Jordan, if you're unable to mute your mic, you can try using your phone to call in. The call-in information would be with the meeting request that you received from me. Madam Mayor, I'll leave it up to you how long you would like to wait.
Okay, I see that Councillor Kiesebrink, you have your hand up. Is this to do with this situation?
Oh, just while we're waiting, I just wanted to make a comment that we appreciate having other housing options available in our community. So just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Yes, it is great to have all of the options available to us now. Mr. Clerk, what do you suggest we do here? Should we go to the other meeting and then come back to Mr. Jordan?
Madam Mayor, maybe just if Miss Alston probably has been dealing with Mr. Jordan, would she have anything to add that maybe Mr. Jordan had spoken to her? Maybe just start there, and I think we just move on because unfortunately Mr. Jordan is not responding. Okay.
Mr. Jordan, if you can hear us, perhaps you could email Miss Alston or our clerk, and we'll see if we can resolve this situation. But in any case, Miss Alston, is there can you shed any light on what any discussions that you've had with Mr. Jordan?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the clerk. I did speak with Samantha Chow, who's an associate in his office. My understanding was that he had not intended to do a formal presentation, but may have had a few things to add depending on my presentation, but would be available to answer questions. He has attended meetings on Teams before on 2 occasions at Committee of Adjustment and didn't have trouble then. So I'm not sure what's the problem at the moment.
Has anybody received an email from him, Mr. Clerk, or?
I haven't, Madam Mayor, but if he didn't have any formal presentation and having, just being available for questions, I would say it's appropriate if we move on at this time, and I'm sure that Mr. Jordan can provide any comments or concerns afterwards.
There is still time before the report comes to council for additional information or additional information within the report that comes to council as well, correct? Before this comes to council for final approval.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, this is the public meeting and information report. There will be an associated recommendation report at a future PCA meeting.
Okay. So we'll leave it at that, and just as long as legally we're okay. So is there anyone from the public that is registered to speak that would like to speak to this presentation tonight? Nobody registered and nobody waiting in the wings for us, Mr. Clerk?
No, Madam Mayor, I did not receive anybody who wanted to speak to this, notice that anyone wanted to speak to this application. Miss Alston
Yes.
may want to add something.
I see that. Your hand's up. Go ahead, Nicola.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I did receive an email from Bryce Jordan asking me to give him a call in his office on Tuesday to let him know what happened in this meeting.
Okay, that's great. And if he has anything else he would like to offer, we can have it in for the final report. Okay, so this concludes this portion of the meeting, and written comments can still be provided to planning staff following this meeting. Thank you. Now we'll move on to public meeting number 2. And this portion of the meeting has been set aside for a public meeting held under Section 34 of the Planning Act to consider an application for a zoning bylaw amendment submitted by Valerie Cramner of Valerie Cramner and Associates on behalf of Willow Tree Farm for the property located at 865 Regional Road 21. The purpose of this, oh, I'm getting some feedback here.
Yeah, Ms. Cramner, can you please mute your mic? I just let Ms. Cramner in, Madam Mayor.
Oh, okay.
Oh, mute my mic? Okay.
Okay, thank you. The purpose of this public meeting is to obtain the views and comments of the public. No decision will be made at this public meeting. It is important that the public express their views either in person or in writing prior to decisions being made by the Council of the Township of Scugog. The notification of this public meeting provided residents with options on how to be added to this meeting. However, written comments can still be submitted to the Township's planning staff at any time prior to the passing of the implementing bylaw. Everyone in this virtual public meeting has the opportunity to speak. Please be considerate of the acknowledged speaker by refraining from speaking into your microphone at the same time. While you may agree or disagree with the speaker, please refrain from audible responses and respect each speaker. To ensure that all those who wish to speak have the opportunity to do so, speakers should limit their comments to 5 minutes and keep comments as brief and to the point as possible. Prior to speaking, please clearly state and spell your name and provide your property address for records purposes. You are encouraged to provide your comments in writing also so that staff can ensure that they are accurately recorded and appropriately considered. If you do not speak at this public meeting or provide written comments before Council makes a decision on this application, you may not be entitled to appeal Council's decision or be added as a party to a hearing by the local planning appeal tribunal, unless the tribunal determines there are reasonable grounds to do so. If you would like to be notified of the decision on these matters, please provide written notice of your desire to receive notice. The notice for this public meeting was given in accordance with the provision of the Planning Act. I will now ask Robin Prentice to provide information regarding the applications and an overview of the staff information report included in this agenda. Ms. Prentice, please proceed with your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this public meeting is to present the proposed zoning bylaw amendment and obtain comments from Council and the public. Next slide, please. An application for a zoning bylaw amendment was received from Valerie Cramner on behalf of Willow Tree Farm for the property located at 865 Regional Road 21. The application was deemed complete on July 7th, 2020. I will provide a brief overview and then the applicant's planning consultant will provide a more detailed presentation. The subject property is located on the north side of Regional Road 21, west of Highway 12 at 865 Regional Road 21. This proposed zoning bylaw amendment is a condition of an approved severance of a surplus farm dwelling. The purpose of the proposed amendment is to recognize the existing house on the severed parcel as a rural residential lot and to remove the permission for any further residential dwellings and any further severances on the remaining agricultural parcel. This application is related to Land Division Application LD 051-2020. Which was granted provisional consent by the Commissioner of Planning and Economic Development for the region of Durham on 20th, 2020. One of the conditions of the approval is this zoning bylaw amendment application. Next slide, please. These lands are located within the Greenbelt Protected Countryside and designated Natural Core Area, Natural Linkage Area, and Agricultural Area in the Township's official plan. The severance policy of the agricultural designation within the Township's official plan permits the severance of a resident's surplus to a farming operation as a result of a farm consolidation, which residence was an existing use as of December 16, 2004, provided the retained farm parcel is zoned to prohibit any further severances and the establishment of any residential dwelling. Next slide, please. The property is currently zoned environmental protection, agricultural with an exception, and agricultural with a holding provision. All these zones permit agricultural uses and recognize the existing single detached dwelling. Next slide, please. The severed parcel with the existing house is proposed to be rezoned rural residential, with the retained agricultural parcel proposed to be rezoned to prevent any further severances and the establishment of any residential dwellings on these lands. No objections or concerns were identified by Township staff or any external agency. All regional conditions are being addressed through the land division application, and the regional planning staff just wanted to ensure that the agricultural portion of the property is rezoned to prohibit any further severances and any further residential dwellings. No written comments have been received from the public. Notice of this virtual public meeting was provided in accordance with the Planning Act, with notice provided to all property owners within 120 meters of the subject property and advertised in the local newspapers and posted on the township's website. A sign has also been placed on the property to notify the public of the application. A future staff report will include an analysis of any comments received tonight, together with any subsequent written comments, and make a recommendation on the application. That concludes my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions council may have.
Thank you, Ms. Prentice. Are there any questions from council? Seeing none, I will now ask Valerie Cramner to present information regarding this application on behalf of the applicant. Ms. Cramner, please unmute your microphone and proceed with your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The presentation I prepared is directly dealing with the zoning amendment application before you tonight for information. Next slide, please. We did submit the application in June of 2020, and Ms. Prentice has already explained what the purpose of the application is. And on July 20th in 2020, the Durham Region Land Division Committee granted provisional consent to the Land Division application 51-2020, which approved a proposed lot line adjustment and the severance of the surplus farm dwelling, subject to a number of conditions, one of which included the rezoning of the property. Next slide, please. This slide shows the location of the proposed residential dwelling in the far southwest corner of the property on Regional Road 21. The address is 865 Regional Road 21. Willow Tree Farm, next slide, please. Willow Tree Farm is a well-known farm in the township, and they own 310 acres and additional 300 acres that are rented, and it's a mixed crop operation with a year-round on-farm market. There are 4 residences located on the farm parcel, 2 of which are utilized by the owners and the others are rented, and one of those is this one. The next slide, please. The proposed lot size is just approximately 2 acres at 0.724 hectares. There is an existing 2-story house with a garage and barn with an existing well and septic system with sufficient space for a reserve tile bed as required by the Durham Region Health Department. Next slide, please. The application conforms or is consistent with the provincial policy statement of 2020, the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe of 2019, the Greenbelt Plan as 2017, the guidelines on permitted uses in Ontario's prime agricultural areas of 2016, the policies in the Durham Region Official Plan, and the policies contained in the Township of Scugog Official Plan. The next slide, please. The conformity is a requirement with all of these previously named documents, and a surplus dwelling is a result of farm consolidation, and it is a lot that is compatible with the adjacent residential area. The lot has been sized to meet the regional lot sizing policy and is limited to the minimum size needed to accommodate the residential use and the appropriate sewage and water services. The regulations contained in the zoning bylaw 1414 with regard to rural residential zone are met. There is no negative impact on the agricultural activities in the area. The barn is suitable for storage purposes only, and the lot can be sustained by rural services. It is noted that the remaining farmland was melded with the total farm acreage on Willow Tree Farm on January 1st, 2020. Next slide, please. And it has been determined through discussions with the region and the other agencies that provide comment that the surplus dwelling lot is to be rezoned to rural residential zone on Schedule A, Map 3 of the zoning bylaw. That the agricultural portion of the lot is to be subject to site-specific exception zones which recognize the environmental protection area, the agricultural area, and the agricultural exception policies that pertain to this specific property. And that is the end of my presentation. If I would be pleased to answer any questions if you have any.
Are there any questions from council? Councillor Kieserbrink.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, thank you, Ms. Cramner, for your report. I'm glad that the space that's there is going to be suitable for septic that might be needed, and that the environmental protection areas are noted. I think your report is really thorough. We went on a tour at Willow Tree where they went through the different parts of the farm and explained the rotation that they have to do for the different crops, for when different things come into season, and it's quite interesting. I'm really happy to see this farm doing well, and you know, they've got the other houses there, so I think your report is quite detailed, and thank you for that.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much, Ms. Cramner, for your very detailed report and presentation. To the listening audience, I don't believe anyone from the public has registered to speak. So, and is there anybody waiting, Mr. Clerk?
No, Madam Mayor, I didn't receive any requests to speak to this application.
Okay, thank you. So this concludes this portion of the meeting, and written comments can still be provided to planning staff following the meeting. I should probably have, after the first public meeting, referred to the report on page 35, so we can do that now. And I have conflicts from Councillor Guido and Councillor Watton. So we'll turn to page 35 and deal with that. The recommendation is there. Did you going to put it up, Mr. Clerk? Thank you.
It should be coming up now, Madam Mayor.
Yes, thank you very much. The recommendation is there. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor McDougall.
I'll move that, Madam Mayor.
Well, Councillor McDougall, and I think it was Councillor Kieserbrink. Was it Councillor
Yes,
Kieserbrink?
thank you.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Questions or comments on the report? Seeing none, I'll call on the clerk to call the vote, please.
Voting is open, Madam Mayor. Seeing that everyone who can vote has voted, I'm closing the vote. And the vote is now closed.
Thank you, and that is carried. Thank you very much. And we'll move now to the second public meeting report, which is on page 43. And Councillor McDougall has declared a conflict on this one. Page 43, and the recommendation is up there. This is on the Willow Tree Farm. May I have a mover for the recommendation, please? Councillor Guido, seconder. Councillor Watton. Questions or comments on the report? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, can you call the vote, please?
Voting is now open, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Councillor Guido, are you able to submit a vote?
It's not popping up on the screen for me. I will vote in favor and I'll try signing out and back in and see if that works.
Thank you.
Okay, Madam Mayor, I'm voting yes for Councillor Guido and closing the vote now.
Thank you.
And your vote should be on screen now, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, and that is carried. Thank you very much. We will now move to presentations and delegations. We've had a delegation request by Mr. McDermott, and that is on 11.1, the Youngfield Farm report. Mr. McDougall, are you speaking on behalf of you and Mr. Malcolm? Is Mr. McDougall there, please, Mr. Clerk? Is he there?
Madam Mayor, I think you mean Mr. McDermott, Councillor McDougall.
Yes.
What did I say, McDougall? I'm sorry. You are there, Councillor McDougall. Is Mr. McDermott there, please?
Madam Mayor, Mr. McDermott didn't join our meeting. He did accept the meeting invite, but he's not within our meeting at the moment. So,
did Mr. Malcolm request a delegation as well?
He did, but he never accepted the meeting invite to the meeting. So,
Okay,
I have
well,
just while I'm on the line here, Miss Kristen Suda. I'm just going to allow her into the meeting right now. She's waiting in the lobby. But yeah, Mr. Malcolm and Mr. McDermott, although having requested, did not join our meeting. And Miss Suda is with us now for this one.
okay, so Ms. Suter is just listening in because, as I understand, she has not requested a delegation. Is that correct? She's just observing the meeting?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, just for the Youngfield Farms matter. Yep.
Okay, so we will move to that report now. What page is that on? Okay, that's on page 8 of your agenda. And the recommendation is up there. And do I have a mover, please? On this report, we have conflicts from Councillor Watton, Councillor Kieserbrink, Councillor McDougall. And so there's just a few left. Councillor Brown, you're moving the report?
Yes, I am, Madam Mayor.
May I have a seconder, please, from those that are available? Councillor Guido. Questions or comments? Councillor Brown? Oops, no. Councillor Brown, do you have a question? Okay, Councillor Guido, do you have a question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I'm assuming you mean, do we have a question on the report?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. I do have a few questions, and I was hoping that either Mr. McDermott or Mr. Malcolm would have attended so that we could have potentially heard their concerns. I know we received a letter from Mr. McDermott prior to the weekend. I would like to ask if staff have had a chance to review the letter that we've received from Mr. McDermott and if they have any comments on that.
Mr. Heritage, would you, or Ms. Alston, who would like to speak on that?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, I did not receive any correspondence from Mr. McDermott. I did receive correspondence during the information report back in May.
Mr. Heritage, did you get that letter?
No, Madam Mayor, I haven't seen that letter either. Staff went into a lot of detail in this report in the attachment that addresses the concerns that were brought forward by Mr. McDermott at the previous meeting.
I don't know whether he had anything new. From my recollection, when I read the letter, I don't think there was anything new that wasn't brought up before. Councilor Guido?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, there was no new points brought forward, but there was questions in respect to some of the comments that township staff had made, and they were looking for extra clarification to the points. And my apologies, I didn't even look at the two in the email to see who had been copied and who hadn't. I would have forwarded over to staff so that they could have had the opportunity to review. I guess I should disclose that my knowledge, obviously, on the technical merits of this report and the letters sometimes is difficult to discern certain points. And I was really hoping that we would have been able to hear some further comments from both Mr. McDermott and Mr. Malcolm. I struggle with these reports, and I fully appreciate that township staff have put an exorbitant amount of time into writing these reports, but there's a lot of details in there. And I suppose at the end of the day, I want to ensure that we will not have a detriment effect on an adjacent farmland to do what they would have been able to do had this report not come forward. And if township staff can assure us that there's no financial or workability issues for the adjacent farmland, then I would be comfortable. But I'm not sure if that's a line that staff is able to say or take. And I do have a question, also the difference between MDS and MDS2, because I've seen it referred to in the report, and I'm not sure if I understand the full definition of both.
Ms. Alston, can you answer that?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, MDS2 is for when someone is planning a livestock facility, so a livestock facility within a barn. And so what happens is there's a calculation that the Ontario Ministry of Agricultural, Food and Rural Affairs have, and it would determine the number of meters that need to be between a livestock facility and any adjacent residential structure. The measurement is to the dwelling and not to the dwelling line. There was an attachment within the report where I did show the 145 meter buffer around each of the dwellings in the area, and that schedule was reviewed by OMAFRA staff and advised that it was an accurate representation of the MDS2. I'd also like to advise that OMAFRA staff did review the MDS section of the report and advised that it was accurate as well.
Does that help? Thank you. Does that help, Councillor Guido?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It does help with that, and perhaps I'm not sure if Ms. Alston is prepared to answer my first big question, but that is, at the end of the day, if council votes in favor of this, what kind of impact will be on the neighboring farm for either their future building or just their farm itself? Will there be any negative impacts to the adjacent property owners?
Ms. Alston?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, there is no proposed change of use through this application. The agricultural lands will remain agricultural, and the residential lands as part of the dwelling that's been there since 1910 will remain as well. My understanding was their main concern was for the future consideration of a livestock barn. As per the schedule that I had included, there seems to be lands that could potentially still accommodate that, subject to any planning considerations. And I believe some of that, their farm is also within the regulated area. So there may be some Kawartha conservation requirements as well.
Okay, Councillor Guido, anything else?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And further, if I may, so Ms. Alston, does this change where Mr. Malcolm's able to build a barn?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, it is my understanding that it does not. The dwelling has been there since 1910, and the setback would be from the dwelling as well as from other dwellings in the area.
Okay, so just so then if I can understand this through, with your indulgence, Madam Mayor.
Please go ahead.
Had this report not come forward, or had this proposed severance not come forward, and Mr. Malcolm wanted to build a barn, and now we fast forward in said location, and fast forward to today, Mr. Malcolm wants to build the barn in the same location, that will still occur then. This application does not impact Mr. Malcolm's ability to build a barn where he may have wanted to prior to this acquisition of land with the Youngfield Farms. Is that correct?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, that is correct. The application doesn't change the required MDS2 separation or setbacks.
Perfect. And if I can understand correctly, all the correspondence back and forth, one of the main concerns from Mr. Malcolm was the ability to build a barn in the location that perhaps he had planned to for many years prior to this application. Is that one of the main concerns that you've addressed through your various reports?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, that is correct. Although I'm unsure as to where he was planning on locating that barn.
Perfect. Thank you. So I believe my question's been answered, Madam Mayor. Thank you. There is no detrimental impact to Mr. Malcolm's ability to build a barn, is all I needed to understand. Thank you. And apologies, it took me a while to get there.
That's okay. That's okay. Councillor Brown?
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. Nicola, this went to LPAT, did it not?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, that is correct. It was appealed to the LPAT through the land division application. The regional.
I beg your pardon. Please go ahead. No, it's my fault. I interrupted. Please continue.
The regional official plan amendment was appealed to LPAT, but that appeal was withdrawn. I'm unsure as to who appealed that one, though.
Okay, thank you. That's all I needed. Thank you very much.
It is now 7:30. This meeting has been going on for an hour. I would assume that Mr. McDermott would have called in by now. I was thinking of maybe leaving this report to the end of the meeting, but it has been going on for an hour. Mr. Clerk, do you think it would be advisable just to give Mr. McDermott some more time so that in all fairness, and of course it does have to be passed by 2/3 to hear Mr. McDermott, because he really, he does not have, we only have an obligation to listen to delegations during the public meeting processes. So we would have to have a 2/3 majority to hear him. Mr. Clerk, what would you advise? Do you think it would be advisable to just hold this report till the end, and we'll deal with the other ones and give him a chance?
Madam Mayor, that decision, to be honest, is up to you. If you feel it appropriate to wait till the end, then by all means do that. But I can advise as of this minute, like you said, the meeting's been going on for an hour. I don't have Mr. McDermott or Mr. Malcolm waiting in our lobby or waiting in our meeting. We also have not received any correspondence from them in terms of like an email saying they were unable to join. I can advise, obviously, that Mr. McDermott did accept the meeting invite. But so I'll leave that decision to you. Like you said yourself, I believe Mr. McDermott, my apologies, did submit some written correspondence already. So I believe council are aware of Mr. McDermott's and Mr. Malcolm's concerns, but whether you want to wait till the end, I will completely leave that up to you.
Mr. Clerk, what time was it suggested that Mr. McDermott join the meeting? Was he told 6:30?
Yeah, all presenters are told the start time of the meeting. So yes, 6:30.
Okay, Councillor Brown, you have your hand up?
No, it's still up from before, Madam Mayor. I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay, thank you very much. I think just to give every opportunity for Mr. McDermott or Mr. Malcolm to make their presentation. I will hold this till the end. We have 3 more reports and a letter of correspondence. So we'll, if with council's indulgence, I'll hold on to that. So if we can turn to page 55 for the report from Oxnard Port Perry Inc. And we'll deal with that. Mr. Clerk?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, if I may, this meeting is being live streamed. So Mr. McDermott, if you happen to be listening and would like to speak, please call into the meeting as you have done so in the past. So maybe just a little shout out to Mr. McDermott if he happens to be listening to our meeting tonight.
Yeah, or Mr. Malcolm. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So on page 55, if we could put up the recommendation, please. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And the recommendation is there. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Guido, thank you. And the seconder, Councillor Watton. Questions or comments to the report? Councillor Guido.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a quick validation question on 2 of the attachments in our report. It references different street names, and I'm just wondering, in attachment 1, it references Elmhurst Street and Southampton Street, and then in attachment number 2, I believe it's and must be the original report, it mentions Elmhurst and Gatwick, I believe it is. Yes, Elmhurst and Gatwick. So in the actual report and attachment number 1, they have different street names. I'm just wondering if we have confirmation of the actual names.
Ms. Prentice?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. It's just a mapping error on the location map. I see that now. Gatwick is on the other side of Sherrington Drive. And then on this side of on the east side of Sherrington, it does become Southampton.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Councillor Guido?
Perfectly. Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Any other questions? Councillor Brown?
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. Hi, Robin. I just have what I hope are a couple of quick questions. What kind of traffic complications are we going to be facing here? Getting through Old Simcoe, and I live on it, has been awful for weeks already. So I'm wondering if it's possible for you or for somebody to give us a timeline for completion of this, because area residents are sick of the dust and the noise already. I know that.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate that living near construction is not always the easiest. We have worked to coordinate the traffic for both Cockers Creek and Oxnard in this area to be together so that we can handle the traffic in the same spots. We are trying to keep the construction traffic to Old Simcoe, which is a collector road, versus having it filtered onto the local roads, which are more the residential streets in the area. So that is our goal. But we do review the traffic access points as part of our construction management plans for the site. In addition, we can comment on most of the underground and servicing works will be completed within the next few months of this year. Which would just leave the housing construction traffic associated with the building of the houses. And unfortunately, I can't really comment on when build it will take place of that subdivision, because that is dependent on the market and when the houses are all sold.
So the earthworks and underground construction work should be completed by the end of this year. So we're talking December then, are we?
It probably wouldn't take that long. It is weather dependent, but they are moving pretty quickly. And I believe Cockers Creek is pretty much nearing the end of their earthworks and underground servicing work. So they will be looking to start housing construction. And then Oxnard is following closely behind. So we do anticipate completion of those works within the next few months, but it would just be a matter of housing construction after that.
Okay, and if I can, I understand that there are plans to have the construction companies pay for the repaving of the road on Old Simcoe. Maybe Director Heritage can speak to that. I'm not sure. And I hope I don't put him on the spot with that question, but I'm wondering when that road is awful. We all know it. It's one of the worst. And I'm wondering if it's possible from the four-way at least back towards the Tim Hortons there. It's terrible. So I'm wondering if it's possible to get an answer on who's going to fix that road.
Would that be you, Ms. Prentice, or Mr. Heritage?
I would have to confirm that. I'm not sure if Director Heritage knows, but I would have to take that question back and provide an answer via email.
Okay.
Through you,
Heritage?
Madam Mayor, I would have to confirm that as well through Director Coleman.
Okay.
And we can provide a response to council on that matter.
Okay, please, you'll provide a response to all of council, please.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Councillor, further, Councillor Brown?
No, that's great. Thanks, Madam Mayor, and thanks for your answers, guys.
Thank you. Councillor Guido, you have another question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and apologies, I forgot to ask this one with my initial questions. Through you to Ms. Prentice, in respect to the sidewalks, I first should commend our crossing guard who daily has to figure out which side of the road to cross the children on Old Simcoe in that construction area there. Oftentimes they're on the east side when they're having to do work on the west side and vice versa for the construction. But do you know, will the west side of the sidewalk, so the stretch from Chimney Hill through to where the Tim Hortons Plaza is there, will that section be closed throughout the entire duration of the construction?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'd have to confirm with our development engineering technician, but I would presume that the sidewalk, we would try to keep it open as much as we can once some of the major construction works are done, but I'd have to review that with our engineering.
Thank you. I just had a few questions from parents whose children were walking to school, but as I said, our crossing guard does a great job of getting the children on either side of the road where they need to be. It's just sometimes can be confusing for the little ones which side they're supposed to be on. So that's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any further questions. So we have a mover and a seconder, and I'll ask you, Mr. Clerk, to call the question.
The voting is open, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Seeing that everyone has voted, I'm now going to close the vote. And your results are on screen, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, and that is carried. Thank you very much. And we'll now move to page 63, the Port Perry Waterfront Action Plan Phase 2. This is an update for us to indicate where we're at. It's certainly a summary of what we've heard from the public for the last year now. And I will call on Robin Prentice, who has headed up this project.
Madam Mayor, I apologize for the interruption as Director Newman, but I think I've got Mr. McDermott in the lobby now. So I just wondered if you wanted to do that now or just still wait till the end.
Well, this report, Waterfront Action Plan, might take a few minutes. So if Mr. McDermott's there, we can let him in. And then we'll have to have a motion to hear his delegation.
Okay, Mr. McDermott, are you with us now? Mr. McDermott, are you there?
I am now, yes. I'm watching the meeting on the video tube, but I tried to join on the Teams and it wouldn't connect.
So you're here now. I'm glad we gave you.
Okay.
I'm glad we gave you the
apologies.
That's okay, thank you. Yes, we held your report and we did have some questions that were answered. Do you have anything new that you would like to put forth to us?
Madam
I know we
Mayor,
need, no, I just wanted to ask before we have the vote on whether we hear the delegation, I just want to ask if there's anything new. Is that okay, Mr. Clerk?
if Mr. McDermott's going to speak, I think you should have a motion to allow him to speak first.
Okay, thank you. I'll need a motion to hear the delegation from Mr. McDermott. Have a mover, please. And we have conflicts of interest on this too. Councillor Guido and seconder. So Councillor Watton, Councillor Kiesebrink, and Councillor McDougall cannot make a motion or second or speak to this. So Councillor Brown, it's up to you. I guess that's about it. So we have a mover. Do we have a seconder? No seconder. I'm sorry, Mr. McDermott. I think that your letter that you sent us and your previous delegation during the public meeting has been sufficient, along with an excellent report answering all the questions about the MDS and the MDS2, have given the opportunity and the information needed for the council to make a decision on this. So I will now call the question because it has been moved and seconded on the report. Mr. Clerk, will you call the question, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Sorry, I apologize. I'm just getting back to it.
Oh, okay.
And it's
on page 8. Council?
Okay, Madam Mayor. Yes, I apologize. The voting is now open, and as you've indicated, it's just Councillor Guido and Councillor Brown. Okay, they have voted now, so I've closed the vote.
Okay, that is carried. Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. McDermott, for joining us. Okay, so now we'll move to 11.5 on page 63, the Port Perry Waterfront Action Plan update, and I'll call on Robin Prentice to talk about her report. First of all, I would like to get a motion that the report be received. Councillor Kiesebrink, second, please. Councillor Watton. Okay, Ms. Prentice, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this report was just to follow up on the survey that we put out in the spring, beginning of summer there, just to provide an outline to council of what we heard through that process, as well as some other feedback we heard through a few other consultation points through the springtime there, based on the 3 concept plans that were put out to the public for some review and comments. So we did get 547 people who answered the survey, which from the consultant's perspective was very good. Good turnout that way. And we did receive 5 paper copies as well. We provided the option that people could submit paper copies as well if they felt more comfortable doing that. And the feedback as summarized in the report, as well as the attachment, was very varied, and there are still some points that we do have to make some decisions on, particularly with respect to the baseball diamonds and the tennis courts, so that there is still a bit of a 50-50 split there in terms of keeping everything the way it is in that section, or looking to relocate some or all of it. So that's something we will be discussing and how we best move forward. But general support for open space and trails in this area, general support for a new marina and public washrooms, general support for tree planting and more trees and gardens, and definitely support for establishing an urban square at the foot of Queen Street there, as well as potentially looking at opening up Queen and Water for special events. So this is, again, just to provide an update to council in terms of what we heard. And I did want to note that this is just the survey, as well as some of the other consultation. We have to take in an input from a number of different places, the public being one, agencies being another, council. So we take in all this input, and it's staff's job with the consulting team to kind of take all what we've heard through this process to date and kind of present the next step, which will be the preferred concept plan. So we weren't asking people with those 3 concepts to pick one over the other. We wanted their input on the individual elements that were in those concepts. So now we have to take all that feedback and put together a preferred plan that will be brought back to council for some comments before we move back out to further public consultation on the draft plan, the draft preferred plan. So I will leave that, but happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Watton?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you to Robin. I just note that in the report, in somewhere, it states that the the majority of respondents are over the age of 40, and I note that we only spoke with one school. Since this is an evolving process, can you tell me if you have any intention or what your intentions are to try and engage the younger population, the high school, the 20s to 40-year-olds? They are the ones that should be responding to this. In the end, it will likely be their park as opposed to, mine and people that are of an older generation by the time it is complete. So I just wondered if you could give me any thoughts on that and how we might be reaching out to a younger population. Thank you.
Sure, through you, Madam Mayor. So we did, as you mentioned, we did go out to the one school, and that was before the pandemic kind of hit in the beginning of March, early February last year. So that feedback is included in the What We Heard attachment from the consultant. Unfortunately, given the way things went at the end of the school year last year, we weren't able to get to any of the other schools. Now we're still kind of waiting to see how this school year is starting to play out and where we go from here. But it is something we could consider in terms of how we roll out the draft preferred plan, and perhaps there's a way even virtually to engage some classes at the local schools. So we can definitely reach out to some of our contacts to see if that interest would be there in terms of getting some feedback from some students in the community through those school contacts as part of the next phase we enter into.
Thank you, and I would appreciate that every effort be made. I mean, we've all learned how to work digitally and virtually, and I mean, that age group could all probably teach us all a thing or two on how to do that and how to be engaged. So I certainly hope that we will reach out in as many ways and formats as we can to try and get their engagement. Thank you very much, Robin. I appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I just might add that I think there was a lot of comments and queries and encouragement through different social media platforms. And my goodness, this generation, the younger generation certainly does they really do connect on social media, but I don't know if there was some of the social media that we're not getting that they particularly like. I don't know whether Lori Bowers can answer that. Or was it your responsibility, Lori, or was it the consultants that did this?
Sorry, Madam Mayor, if you could please rephrase your question to me. I didn't quite catch the full question.
Well, I was just saying that the younger generation is very connected with social media, and I know there was a lot of advertising or encouragement to fill out the forms. Is there some forms of social media that the younger generation really connects to that maybe we weren't using that particular platform, or can you comment on that?
We made use of platform that we have at our tools. The younger generation lives on Instagram. We did make use of Instagram in terms of output for public consultation on this. The consultation process was a myriad of tools and applications that we administered, from in-person and in school. The one school, we did have intention to go to the high school, as Mrs. Prentice mentioned. We're unable to follow up on that, but that's still on our to-do list. In terms of the report, I believe that might have been an average age. We could come back to council through email with exactly a breakdown of the demographic of age. Average is not always indicative. We did have some good uptake from a younger demographic, lower than 40. And we could provide that information. And we could also provide a breakdown of some of the particular comments that were received through social media that would be outside of the responses received from the hard survey, the last of the 3 options. So be happy to strengthen some of that information, and rest assured we will be continuing our outreach as we start to hone in on the final option.
Okay, thank you. On 78, there's a pretty good breakdown. But anyway, good that we used Instagram. So that was a good opportunity for the younger folks to get their feelings and their opinions heard. Thank you very much for that. Councillor Kiesebrink.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just wondering if we could address some of the questions that were written on page 32. The Mississaugas had asked if moving the marina north is a viable option because of water condition. I was wondering if staff could comment on that.
Robin?
Sure, through you, Madam Mayor. So that is something we, as part of the next phase, we take a look at all the questions and feedback. Once we start to whittle through all 3 concepts down to the one, that is something we take a stronger look at. Okay. In terms of the viability of some of the options and their location. So that will come through the next component.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so where they asked for like the acknowledgement of First Nations within the waterfront area, like any of those particular points would be brought forward in a more fulsome way with more of the final presentation. Is that correct?
Yes, we will try to address most of their comments. Some of the renaming piece we can take a look at, but that may require some separate discussions with council as well.
Okay.
Separate.
I had another question, if I could, Madam Mayor.
Please.
This is just maybe you could provide some feedback. What was the parallel part or the parking being on an angle? Does that allow for more parking rather than the side-by-side parking that we have now? Is that the advantage of angle parking?
Robin?
Through you, Madam Mayor. To be honest, I don't know. I would presume that angles would give you a bit more parking. But again, it's funny because we continue our discussions with the consultants, and that is something they do take a look at in terms of actually counting the number of spots with the concepts that we eventually come up with. So that is something they'll be able to respond to in terms of the number of spots we have now versus the number of spots we will have through whatever plan comes forward for the next phase.
Okay, because I know I think they have angled parking in Uxbridge in their downtown, and we have the side-by-side type of parking. I would be curious to know if that would actually allow, I know it's funny because it was one of the poorly rated elements, but yet people really want parking. So it'd be interesting to know if it would actually afford us more parking.
There's different, through you, Madam Mayor, sorry, there is different things to consider with angled parking from a safety perspective. And I do know it has to do a lot with the width of the roadway that you have available to use as well.
Okay.
Director Heritage, was that on that point? Director Heritage?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of further points on the angled parking. Yes, you can accommodate more parking spaces in angled parking as opposed to parallel parking. However, it's far more difficult to negotiate parking in an angled parking spot when you're backing out. It's extremely difficult to see oncoming traffic as opposed to a parallel spot where you've got good sight lines. Angled parking has got poor sight lines.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Anything further, Councillor Kiesebrink?
No, that's all, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McDougall? Your microphone's off.
Oh, sorry, I hit my hand button instead of my microphone. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you, and through you, just to follow up, I guess, to begin on Councillor Kiesebrink's questions. I'm just looking for, there was a question, I guess, about moving the marina north, and I think she suggested that the Mississaugas wanted the marina moved north because the water quality is better. Where is that in this report?
Through you, Madam Mayor, just to clarify, no, the Mississaugas were questioning whether it was viable to even move the marina north, because that was on one of the concepts provided that option. And so they were just questioning the viability of that option, given the water conditions in the north end there. And so the Mississaugas consultation comments are outlined on page 32 of the attachment.
So they weren't suggesting, Councillor Kiesebrink, that it be moved there. They were asking why it was even being considered, is my assumption. Further?
I don't, if I could, Madam Mayor, it's on page 32.
Excuse me?
And the way
Who is this?
sorry, the way they're,
Is this you, Robin? Who's speaking?
It's Councillor Kiesebrink.
Oh. I'm sorry, Councillor Kiesebrink, I thought you were finished. Can we just finish with Councillor McDougall first, and then we'll come back to you?
I thought you asked me that question. I apologize.
Oh, okay. Councillor McDougall, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Further, is the Lake Scugog Enhancement Project, would that even improve the water quality or the depth around Birdseye Park at all?
Well, I can answer that. Yes, it will.
Okay, sorry, I wasn't sure exactly how it goes around that, the nose of the park. I'd like to thank Councillor Watton for asking the questions with regards to the demographics of the people, responding. I see the youth applications or what's desirable from the youth at the end of the report is significantly different to what the older generation doesn't really want to see. Perhaps Robin can talk about how we'll look at marrying those two, because certainly when we look forward into the future tax-paying generations that will be inheriting this facility or these facilities from us, we certainly want to make sure that we're attracting, or retaining the youth and the members of our community that we want to stay here. Robin, if you could.
Sure. Through you, Madam Mayor. So as I did mention, we do have to take input from a number of different places, and then it is our job to work with the consultants to kind of marry them all together to come up with the best plan for everyone. And it is our goal that the waterfront will be used for all age groups. So that is something we are taking a look at in terms of creating space that each age group can use, from the little kids at the playground up to the in-between preteen teenagers, in terms of what they would like to see and use within the space, as up through adults and families, and then up through the seniors. So that is something that we're keeping top of mind as we go through all the comments and kind of marry them all together into one preferred concept.
Further, Councillor McDougall?
No, that's all. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. Thanks, Robin, for this. Opening up Queen, page 3 of the report, opening up Queen and Water for special events in the summertime. Have you heard from or consulted with the BIA on that? I would presume yes.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. The BIA has a representative on our steering committee for this project, so they do participate throughout the project that way. They also did help provide the survey link out to their members, so we did promote the survey for all BIA members to provide input on.
Great. Okay, just dotting my I's and crossing my T's on that one. 55% did not support relocating both baseball diamonds and tennis courts, while 57% disagree with maintaining both ball diamonds. So they don't want both ball diamonds maintained, but they don't agree with moving them. Would that be accurate?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that it is interesting to see the views on the baseball diamonds and tennis courts, and that is accurate. It does kind of capture a 50-50 split to those wanting to maintain what's there, to those not wanting to maintain what's there. And perhaps there's somewhat of a hybrid compromise model in there that will come forward and we can take a look at, that we can get further input on.
Okay, and I know we're in phase 2 and there's a third phase coming, but as you pointed out, whittle down to the 1. When do we whittle down to the 1?
Sure, so that's something we're currently working on now with the consulting teams in terms of coming up with that preferred draft plan that we can put forward for further consultation. So that's something we'll bring back to review with council before it's released for further public consultation later this fall. So consultation with council could take place, we're looking in October. So hopefully a draft will be available shortly for people to review and comment on. And then we would take all the comments we get back on that. And our objective is to bring back a final plan for approval by the end of the year, but that timing does depend on a number of different factors.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. Director Heritage, your hand is up. Is that from before? Okay.
Sorry, Madam Mayor. I just,
okay.
If I may, I'd like to just add a couple of comments. This plan, at the outset, we were talking about a phase plan. We were talking about short, medium, and long-term goals and what we wanted to achieve over those 3 time periods. That will be discussed in the preferred plan. So it'll identify certain issues that we want to address in the 0 to 5 year time frame for the short term, 5 to 10 year for the medium term, and plus 10 beyond that. We'll also be looking at, in terms of the short term, some costing, how much it will cost to make those improvements in the short term, and have that introduced as part of budget discussions as well in the next few years. So I just wanted to add that to the discussion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And that could be moved up or slowed down with grant applications as well, I suppose.
That's correct.
Right. Thank you very much for that. Councillor Guido.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And Director Heritage somewhat answered the question that I was going to ask, and it likely is probably an uncomfortable question, but we whittle down to our most desirable concept, and then we realize that realistically we can't afford any of it. What is our plan at that point, given that we don't know? Hopefully second wave COVID doesn't happen, and if it does, it doesn't have a horrific effect or impact on our finances. But if it does, not even COVID aside, if the plan that everyone thinks is the best is one that we can't afford, what do we do at that point?
Director Heritage, I guess, is or Robin Prentice. Who wants to take that?
I can take that, Madam Mayor. I would imagine there are going to be certain elements in the short term that I guess will be deemed to be low-hanging fruit that are fairly inexpensive, that we can make some minor adjustments along the waterfront that we can afford, and perhaps there are other adjustments that we'll want to make that are more expensive and that we determine can't be made and pushed off into the future.
Thank you.
And Robin, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I was just going to add that it's helpful to have a plan in case things come up, such as, I know there are things already in the near-term goals in terms of capital projects for the waterfront, such as the washrooms or the splash pad. So it's helpful to have this plan in place to understand the implications of what you'd like to see over time with respect to some of those necessary improvements in the shorter term. So as Director Heritage said, it's helpful for the costing and identifying those things you can do in the short term, but it's also helpful for when those grant applications come up that the mayor spoke to kind of say, okay, we'd love to have this and it fits in great with this application. So it just helps as a way to move forward. But yes, I think we all appreciate that it is it will be an evolving plan over time and something that we'll constantly review as we go through budget and capital plans.
That's right. That's we got phase 1 of the waterfront done because we had plans in place, such as we're working towards now, and we were successful getting a grant because we were ready. So it's good planning, good news.
Yep.
Anything further, Councillor Guido?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Mayor. And yes, I totally appreciate that. We just have to also be realistic that oftentimes or sometimes we do also get denied our grant applications. And I just want to ensure that when we're conveying this to our residents, a lot of them are getting excited about the things that they see in these concepts. And I think we need to ensure that there is a reality out there with our residents that while it is lovely, all of these great ideas and improvements, that the likelihood of all of them occurring in 10 years may not happen. And I think we have to be cautious of that. And I would like to echo the comments of my other fellow councillors who commented on the demographics. And it is surprising given how vocal the younger demographic is on social media about things that they don't like or feel that we are lacking to provide them. I would have hoped that they would have used this as an opportunity to fill out those surveys and tell us what it is that they're hoping to see. So I'm eagerly looking forward to whatever else we can figure out to engage with them. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're absolutely right. Thank you, Councillor Guido. I don't see any further questions. The motion is there to receive the report, and I'll call on our clerk to call the vote, please.
Voting is open, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Councillor Guido, you're still unable to vote.
Sorry, let me flip over.
Seeing everyone has voted, I'm closing the vote now, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
And the results should be on screen now.
And that is carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Robin. You've done a fantastic job of pulling all this together. It's quite an exciting project, and we're looking forward to things as they move ahead. So thank you for all your work. And the last of the reports is very exciting as well, and it's on page 107, and it's about the replacement of office multifunction printers that in the long run, well, actually in the short run, it's going to save us a lot of money. So it's on page 107, and if we could get that up, we do. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Watton? Seconder? Councillor McDougall. Thank you very much. And Adam, would you like to just wallow in the glory here and tell us a little bit about this? Or our clerk, Mr. Newman?
Yes,
through you, Madam Mayor. Oh, yeah, actually, I'd love to kind of give a quick overview. So we put this out to tender a couple of weeks ago, or I guess a month and a half ago or so. I kind of went through and did a nice spreadsheet of all the bids that we received. Took a close look at our actual print volumes from 2019 to kind of base what we will probably end up paying in the long term over the course of this contract. And in the end, figured out that Ricoh was the best option for both price as well as features. And it's going to be a great change for the township, and we're going to save a ton of money.
Yes, that's wonderful. How much was that? I think it's in the report here. Oh, $45,500. That's pretty fantastic. Thank you for all the work you've done on that. Director Newman, Mr. Clerk, do you have anything you wanted to add?
Not really, Madam Mayor. Just this is obviously a part of our continued ongoing effort to improve efficiencies and gain better value for money. As you'll see from the financial implications within your report on screen now, is that we're actually going to get more for our money. So not only are we seeing a great savings there over the 5-year period, but we also are also adding some additional printers where they were needed as well. So yeah, it's a great obviously result. So I think I'll just let that speak for itself, I guess. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Kiesebrink.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I think the Blackstock Depot and the Port Perry and the Parks Depot will appreciate having those. So thank you very much to Mr. Dubecki and everyone involved in this. I was wondering, before the meeting started, you were talking about, I think there was an exit clause, and I think you called it a lemon clause. Maybe you could elaborate for us a little bit on some of the contractual changes that we're also benefiting by.
Mr. Dubecki?
Sorry about that. Had to unmute myself. Through you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, so our old contract was very, very restrictive. There was no lemon clause, which basically means that kind of like the lemon clause with a car, if we received a printer that just was a lemon, did not function at all, it just guarantees that we will have a functioning printer, you know, as per the contract. I don't know the specifics of the new contract, like I mentioned before the meeting. I have to go through and kind of read through in detail. But because it is a vendor of record, I have no doubt that it is going to be more than adequate, as our experience with other vendor of record contracts. So that's one of the biggest, you know, features that we're going to get. The other one is just a proper exit clause. Our current contract literally stated that we could not exit that contract under any circumstances. We had to pay the duration of the contract for as long as it was. There was no way to get out of it. Like, we couldn't even pay out the remainder of the contract. And the new contract does have some form of exit clause. Like I mentioned, I'm not sure on specifics, but I mean, once I'm finished reading through, I can kind of send a follow-up email to give you guys the details on that.
Okay, thank you. Anything further, Councillor Kiesebrink?
No, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, I see no further questions. So, Mr. Clerk, will you call the question?
Voting is open, Madam Mayor.
Yep.
Seeing everyone has voted, I'm closing the vote now, and results should be coming up on screen.
And that is unanimous. So thank you very much. Well done. Well done. Thank you. The next item is on page 110, and it's the City of Oshawa anti-racism motion. And you'll notice that this letter was written on July 28th, and I know that the region has dealt with this, so I'll be looking for a motion to receive, and I'll ask Regional Councillor Watton to tell us what the region has done, and before you make a motion. Councillor Watton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to update this council that on the 29th, well, actually on the 9th of July, and then at the Health and Social Services committee meeting, and then on the 29th of July at the Regional Council meeting, there was a motion made by Dan Carter, and I'm not sure who the seconder was, that the region add 3 additional nurses for inclusion into the 2021 budget, so that the primary care outreach program, which is the police and so on, so that we could operate 24/7. And I believe that it was voted unanimously to accept that motion and to refer it to the 2021 budget. So I'm quite optimistic that the region will see that successfully through the budget process. because they certainly have recognized the incredible need, especially in the light of the current pandemic. And you know, I mean, mental health concerns are on the rise on top of what was already existing there. So I am quite confident that we will see that, and that it will be a 24/7 operation with nurses accompanying DRPS. Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I'll make that motion that we receive this letter for information.
Okay, thank you. And speaking of the police, they have a few teams, and they have a lot of police officers that are trained in how to deal with mental health issues and to reduce the escalation of activity when they're on a call, as well as some mental health nurses. So I think a motion to receive is good advice. So we have a mover. Is Councillor McDougall, are you seconding it, or do you have a question?
No, yes, Madam Mayor, I'm seconding that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do you have a question or a comment?
It's great to see this come forward. Thank you very, very much.
Okay.
To everybody.
Thank you. I don't see any other hands. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none. Mr. Clerk, will you call the vote, please?
Voting is open, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Seeing that everyone has voted, I'm going to close the vote now. Results should be on screen.
Thank you, and that is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. No new business, and I'll call now for motion to adjourn. Councillor Guido, thank you. Seconder. Councillor Watton. Oh, looks like I've got all kinds of hands now. I wonder why. So, yeah, thank you. It's 8:20. We did very well tonight. Great meeting. Thank you very much, staff. Thank you very much, council, for your contributions. And I'll call on the vote. Mr. Clerk, please.
Voting is open, Madam Mayor. Seeing that everyone has voted, closing the vote now, and results should be up on screen.
Thank you, and that is unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.